What's up guys, I just got here. So it's been a while since I've had a new series, so let's start a new one. But wait, let's not just purely start a new one. Let's bring back an old one. So if you guys remember back in 2018, I had a series called Hyped? Damn it, what was it called? Let's see here. Yeah, it was called Hyped. Okay. Let's bring that back, but under a new name. So welcome to The Riverline. Let's get into it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that little B-roll intro in the beginning, and let me know in the comments if you want me to keep doing that, and let's get on with it. Alright, Apple. So I'd say Apple had a pretty big year last year. They had a ton of products come out, they had some pretty big announcements, and there was a lot of stuff going on. But let's highlight each product category, and let's talk about it. Let's briefly touch on software real quick. So we saw, of course, iOS 14, which was a pretty big jump from iOS 13 with widgets and a couple other new features, but overall it still feels like iOS. So will iOS 15 next year be an even bigger upgrade? We don't know. And of course then we also had watchOS 7, which was, it was watchOS 7. And then we had macOS Big Sur, which is the official release of macOS 11 and a pretty major design overhaul. And iPadOS 14, which really was not that much of an upgrade over iPadOS 13. Really, it's iPadOS 2 because it's only 2 years of iPadOS. But anyways, yeah. Now let's talk about products. Alright, let's talk Apple Watch. So I'd say Apple Watch was probably the most normal out of the whole, release cycle, and it's not even normal at that. It's not even, your typical Apple Watch. We see normally one Apple Watch per year. This past year, we saw two. We saw the big dog Apple Watch Series 6, but then a cheaper priced Apple Watch called Apple Watch SE. That was a little surprising, but what's in it for the Apple Watch this coming year? Well, Apple Watch Series 7, maybe we'll see a updated design. We've had the same sort of, expanded screen design with Apple Watch since Apple Watch Series 4 back in 2018, so maybe it's about time that they bring an updated design. I've been saying to Apple for years, make a circular Apple Watch. It would just make sense, but I know they're probably never going to do that, but, we can only hope. But yeah, hopefully we'll see a bit of a design overhaul, and yeah, and also maybe we'll see Apple Watch SE 2. We really don't know, but yeah, maybe a little bit of a spec upgrade for that. Alright, AirPods. Let's talk these. So AirPods actually had a pretty quiet beginning of the year. We saw AirPods Pro right at the end of 2019, and those have been pretty successful overall, but we didn't see anything new from AirPods at all this year, or this past year, until December when we got AirPods Max, which, honestly, I have pretty strange thoughts on those. I think that they are not worthy of the AirPods name. They should have been in their own product category. Honestly, they're not AirPods, to be real. But also, $550. $550. Bruh. No. That is way too expensive for a pair of headphones. Just take, for example, Sony Mark IVs. I'm not going to say a little ridiculous name. Those are usually around $300 to $350. Bose 700, usually around $300 to $350. Microsoft Surface headphones too. Those are, I think, around $300 to $350. And the AirPods Max at $550 is just downright outrageous. No, no. But what's in for AirPods in 2021? Well, hopefully we'll see a new updated pair of the standard AirPods. Probably not with active noise cancellation, but honestly that's fine because we have AirPods Pro at $250 and then AirPods Max or AirPods Dumb at $550. But maybe we'll see a slightly updated design for the third gen standard AirPods. I don't know, but maybe. But yeah, all right. iPhone. Let's talk this. So, iPhone had a pretty big year in 2020. We had at the beginning of the year, I think back in May, we saw iPhone SE, which was an interesting one, because the new iPhone SE, it's the body of an iPhone 8, which a lot of people do love. I'm not gonna harp on people for loving the design of the iPhone 8. It is a nice design, but with a mediocre screen compared to its main competition, which is Pixel 4a and OnePlus Nord, and also a really crappy battery. And the specs are fantastic. The specs are definitely an improvement over Pixel 4a and OnePlus Nord, but iPhone SE definitely deserves that lower price tag, I will say. If it was probably anything more than that top level spec at about $5 to $550, it wouldn't have been worth it. There's no way. But is there anything in for the iPhone SE in 2021? I'm gonna guess no, because it took Apple 4 years to update the design of the original iPhone SE to the new iPhone SE. So I highly doubt that there's going to be a new iPhone SE in 2021. We're probably going to have to wait until about 2024 to see a new iPhone SE, or maybe it'll be sooner. I don't know. Apple's never clear on their release cycles. But let's talk the main iPhones. 12 mini, 12, 12 Pro, and 12 Pro Max. They all have been great. So I'm finally excited to see a flagship small iPhone with the 12 mini. Now, $700 is, well, actually $730. Carrier pricing is a little bit tricky. Is that worth it? It's hard to say. Now, I think having that small iPhone is nice. I think a lot of people do enjoy that size. And now that all of these main iPhones are OLED, that makes the price even better. But also, they're still not cheap, of course. But then we have the main dogs, the 12 and the 12 Pro. These are the ones that you want to buy if you're looking for just the main iPhone. I'd probably lean people towards the regular 12 over 12 Pro, because the 12 is honestly just what you need. Just for the love of God, don't spend your money on the 64 gig. Upgrade to the 128 gig version. It's only $50 more. Just do it. But what's in for the iPhone, in total in 2021? Well, hopefully we'll finally see that notch shrink, because we've had that notch since 2017 with the iPhone 10. We're all getting sick of it, Apple. Just shrink it. Shrink it. And also, there's been reports that possibly Touch ID is going to come back. If you guys don't remember what Touch ID is, it's the little good old fingerprint ID. And mine doesn't like to work. But yeah. So yeah, but maybe we'll see that back in the display this year. Android phones have had it in the display for 3-4 years now. So I think it's about time we see this come to an iPhone. So if Apple falls through, then that'll be pretty nice. Also, I see a lot of people saying that there is going to be no charging port on the new iPhones here. See, I don't know. I don't know if I really am believing that. I think maybe Apple would take one more year with the charging port. Maybe one more year. But I really don't know. Maybe we'll see a portless iPhone this year. Maybe we'll see just one model of portless iPhone and the rest will have a port. Maybe that'll be the case. But yeah. And also, the name. Is it 12S or is it 13? If we're looking at patterns, I feel like nobody pays attention to this. We had iPhone 10, iPhone XS, iPhone 11, iPhone 12. So if we follow that pattern, I think it's going to be iPhone 12s. I don't think it's going to be iPhone 13. Now, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that we're going to see it. iPhone 13. Or 12s. Oh, you're confusing me now. Also, touching briefly on the iPhone with no charger. This is bullshit. Apple, don't try to make a profit on stupid shit that really doesn't make sense. Now, I know you're saying that removing the charger is an environmental benefit. Yeah, that's a whole bunch of marketing bullshit. Just put the charger in the f***ing box. Or, alternatively, give us the option to include the charger with the purchase. You don't have to make it the standard option, but make it an option at least. Don't just say no charger in the box. Fuck you. Please. Xiaomi did it. So, yeah. And it better be a free option. Alright, let's talk iPad. So, iPads had a bigger year last year than most years in the past, at least in the past few years. Now, I feel like iPads didn't get enough credit as they deserved last year, because there was some pretty good stuff. So at the beginning of the year, we saw the refreshed iPad Pro, which was just a very, very, very minor spec bump, and a new camera system with an ultra-wide and the LiDAR scanner. And that's pretty much it. There wasn't really anything else that was new with iPad Pro. And also, I think the base storage up to 128 gigabytes, but no, there was really nothing new. The most new thing about the new iPad Pro was the addition of the Magic Keyboard, which, Apple. The Magic Keyboard is way too expensive. $300 for a keyboard case. What? And $350 for the 12.9 inch? Like, are you kidding me? That is... What are you thinking? Yeah. But then later in the year, we had the new iPad Air, the 4th gen, which I'm over here still rocking the 2nd gen, or iPad Air 2, for you enthusiasts. And this, I think, was the best iPad of the year. Because we've been finally waiting to see a cheaper iPad. I guess a cheaper iPad Pro. Maybe not necessarily... yeah, I guess a cheaper iPad Pro, because it has the now iPad Pro-like design with the thinner bezels, with no home button, and that's great to see. But this isn't just a cheaper iPad Pro. This thing is a powerhouse. It's arguably more powerful than the current iPad Pro, because it has the A14 Bionic chip compared to the A12Z, which, what even is A12Z? Like, what? But anyways, yeah. Overall, I think iPad Air 4 was the best iPad that came out in 2020, and maybe iPad Air 5 will be great, or maybe we'll see finally a real upgrade from iPad Pro. But of course, we can't forget the mini boy, not the iPad mini, but the 8th generation iPad. Oh boy. Yeah, Apple, give us a new design. Don't make us wait 20 million years for a new design. iPad 8 is literally just a spec bump. That's it. There's nothing new. Same kind of crappy screen with no lamination. Same actually fairly thick body. Same not amazing camera. Same really, really chunky bezels. Same kind of everything. Yeah, iPad 8 has not been... I've not been impressed. Now, I know it's the cheapest iPad. $330 is actually a pretty good deal, but I would much rather get an iPad Air. Just saying. But what's in for the iPad in 2021? Well, like I said, hopefully we'll finally see a true spec bump for the iPad Pro. Maybe that'll come later in the year. Maybe that'll be around like October maybe. But hopefully we see a spec bump from iPad Pro. Like, seriously. And also, maybe we'll see a refreshed iPad mini because the iPad mini got refreshed back in 2019, but it's been pretty quiet overall through 2020. So will we see an iPad mini 6? Who knows? And will it hopefully have the bigger screen with no home button? I hope so. I hope they bring that to the full iPad line in the next 2-3 years. But, you know, you never know, I guess. All right, last, let's talk Mac. So I'd say arguably Mac was what Apple focused on the most this year. And because, of course, there were some huge announcements with Mac and just a lot of, upgraded things to the Mac. So at the beginning of the year, of course, we saw the refreshed MacBook Air, which was basically just the new Center Switch keyboard and a spec bump. But that's pretty much it. There wasn't anything really new besides that with MacBook Air. But honestly, that's fine because later on, MacBook Air got an even better spec bump. And that brings me to what happened later on. Now, of course, before what happened later on, we saw the refreshed 13-inch MacBook Pro, which again was just basically the new keyboard and not much else. Maybe a little bit of a spec bump, but no, not much else. But then in June, we got the big announcement that Apple is officially transitioning to Apple Silicon and ditching Intel. Now that's huge because Intel has been a part of Apple computers since around 2006. So them kind of running away from that is a pretty big deal. Back in November, we saw a couple of the Macs officially get the first Apple Silicon Mac chips. We saw, of course, in the Mac Mini, the MacBook Air, and the 13-inch MacBook Pro. But one thing I gotta say, Apple, if you're gonna make a low-end chip, why did you not put it in the base iMac? Like, why? This base iMac, with its kind of crappy i5 chips, really isn't that great. Like, it's a pretty crappy performer. And it's just, yeah, it hasn't been impressive in a couple of years, I'd say. But what's in for the Mac for 2021? Well, hopefully, of course, the big thing we're going to see is an even bigger push towards Apple Silicon. Of course, we're going to see probably a higher-end Apple Silicon chip for the higher-end models. So, of course, we're going to see it for the 16-inch MacBook Pro, and the 27-inch iMac, iMac Pro, and of course the Mac Pro. But also, there's going to be some product refreshes. So what I'm really hoping for in a product refresh is finally a new design for the iMac. It has been way too long since we've seen a new version of the iMac. I think it's been since 2007 since we've seen a new version of the iMac. And this one's over here is a 2017 model. So, and they're still using this design. So, hopefully we'll see a new iMac with thinner bezels, maybe with a keyboard with Touch ID or Face ID or something like that, with better webcams. Of course, they did improve the microphones on a slight spec bump of the last Intel iMac. Back in, I think, July, but yeah. But also, one thing I gotta ask for is SSD options only. It's way past time to ditch traditional hard drives. Apple, fuck your Fusion drives. SSD is what we need. Pure SSD only. But then, what else? Well, there are also reports that we may see a new 14-inch MacBook Pro. Now, that'd be pretty interesting because we were actually thinking we were going to see a 14-inch MacBook Pro pretty soon after the 16-inch MacBook Pro came out and replaced the 15-inch. But they didn't. They just refreshed the 13-inch and kept it the 13-inch. So that was a little odd. But the MacBook Pro seems to be having a big year. At least that's what it's cracked up to be. So there's been tons of reports saying that Apple is going to officially ditch the Touch Bar. which that's pretty big. I want to know, how many of you guys really like the Touch Bar? I never owned a MacBook Pro with Touch Bar. I still have a 2014 MacBook Pro, which is my main machine to edit all my videos inside of Adobe Premiere Pro. But what do you guys think? Was the Touch Bar really important to you, or did you just like not give a crap about it? Or are you a Windows person? All Windows people, leave the comments now. Anyways, but yeah, there's been reports that they're going to ditch the Touch Bar. Maybe not ditch Touch ID, hopefully not, because Touch ID has been fantastic in these laptops. But also, maybe ditch, maybe have thinner bezels. We don't know. But yeah, so there we go. That's everything that Apple is hopefully going to introduce and basically run down in the last year. So hopefully we'll see some exciting stuff. But hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, make sure you guys smash the thumbs up button, hit that subscribe button down below, and follow me on Snapchat, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and Twitch. And hope you guys like this series. Let me know down in the comments, because YouTube doesn't let you do polls anymore. But anyways, I'm going to catch you guys in the next one. Peace.